Yo, YouTube, welcome back to another video. Today, got y'all another reaction video. We got a detective realizes the nurse is actually the killer. Let's jump straight into it.
This is part that I haven't told the doctors. How about 9:30? I gave him a dose of 50 milligrams of insulin, non-diabetic. I believe he died the next day.
This was the moment detectives realized 50-year-old Elizabeth Wetlaufer, a seemingly innocent nurse, was actually the secret cause for multiple deaths. On the 11th of August, Jamie Silcox, a dementia patient, was found dead in his bed at Crescent Care Nursing Home. With an autopsy coming up with nothing, his death was ruled as natural causes. But over the next few years, the same nursing home discovered patient after patient had died under the exact same circumstances. For 8 years, the cause was a complete mystery to police and doctors alike, until September 2016, when Elizabeth Wetlaufer turned herself in to reveal the horrifying truth behind these mysterious deaths. Liz turned herself in at a mental health clinic, who promptly contacted police. Hours later, Liz was brought into the interrogation room.
So I just want to go through, like I said, a couple formalities, cover a few little things off. If you wish to speak to a lawyer at any time,
Okay.
we can make it happen whenever you like.
The interrogation starts with Liz being read her rights. Liz has the right to a lawyer and the right to remain silent. However, it's looking doubtful she'll be exercising either of these rights, as her detective asks a few questions to get to know her.
Back at Meadow Park, what was your addiction?
Hydromark.
And how much were you using? And,
I was a binge user, so I would use what I could get a hold of
okay.
by stealing it from the patient.
Liz worked as a nursing home worker and had access to all her patients' medicine. For years, Liz had been stealing a drug named hydromorphone, a strong painkiller similar to the likes of morphine, and using it secretly to deal with stress. But it turns out addiction wasn't the only mental issue she was dealing with.
So as far as your latest position at St. Elizabeth,
Yeah.
that was your last position as a RN, is that
Yes,
correct?
it was.
Okay.
Yes.
And you said you resigned from there?
Yes.
Okay. What brought you to that?
That's where things get a little crazy.
Okay.
This is part that I haven't told the doctors. When my ex and I broke up in 2007, I was already taking the medication for my borderline personality disorder. And I was so angry. And it was like a voice said inside me, I'll use you, don't worry about it.
Liz has struggled with borderline personality disorder for years and took medication to try and suppress it. This meant she hadn't let it affect her much, at least not until 2007, where this would change in a horrifying way. The detective then decides to ramp up the pressure, and the interrogation quickly turns from an interrogation to a confession.
So, Mr. Silcox, it says here you were working a double shift from 3 till 7, right?
3 p.m. to 7 a.m.
In Woodstock.
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about your knowledge of James.
I didn't see him every time. He wasn't always my patient. I just knew from what people had said that he would grab the nurse's breasts and buttocks, and he would say horribly inappropriate things about his wife, that now he was there, just would say different things. And he did touch me inappropriately once.
Jamie Silcox was an 84-year-old veteran with dementia being cared for by Liz and the team. But one evening, care would turn to carnage as Liz began to fill with rage and made a choice that would change the course of her life forever.
How about 9:30? I gave him a dose of 50 milligrams of insulin, non-diabetic, and gave him an insulin shot. Throughout the night, he was yelling out, I love you, and I'm sorry. Not to me, but just you could hear him calling out in his room, and that's what he was calling out. And then at 3:30, the PSWs came to me and said that he was gone. The doctor came in and said that his cause of death was from an embolism due to his post-hip. He'd had hip surgery. Doctor ruled it embolism due to post-hip surgery.
Insulin overdoses occur when someone takes more insulin than they need, regardless of if they're diabetic or not. Too much insulin will dramatically lower the body's blood sugar level, which can cause dizziness, loss of consciousness, and of course, death. What's more concerning, though, is how
fucked up,
difficult
man.
it can be to identify it as the cause of death. And even in cases where it is identified, it's very difficult to prove it was an overdose of insulin that caused it in the first place. This wasn't even the first time she'd attempted this either. In 2007, she administered 2 other inordinate doses of insulin, but they failed to kill the
Wow.
patients. But while this was the first time she was
Man, fuck this
successful,
bitch.
it was far from the last.
Maurice. How did you pronounce Maurice's last name?
Grenat.
Is it Grenat? Okay.
He was another one who liked to grab breasts and asses.
Okay.
He was sometimes a patient of mine. See, at that time, I didn't have a set floor that I worked on. I worked on all the different floors as a nurse, kind of filling in.
Okay.
So, one afternoon I was working with him and he did grab me.
So you kill
And
him.
again, I got that feeling inside that
It's
this
fucked
is
up.
his time to go. So I gave him an overdose of insulin after supper. And I believe he died the next day.
And what was his reaction to receiving the insulin?
Again, it was just kind of like, oh, okay. I said, the doctor wants you to have a vitamin shot. That's what I usually say.
Liz had now begun to refine her method, telling the victim it was just a vitamin shot, and had even hinted towards a motive.
And again, I got that feeling inside that this is his time to go.
Each time she thought about killing somebody, she felt a deep, intense feeling in her stomach that implied God wanted that person back
What the
and
fuck?
that their time was up.
And the different times that I have caused people's deaths or caused them discomfort through the insulin, I believe it was the influence of that voice or whatever it was. It wasn't a voice in my head, it was a voice in here. So, but yeah, I just had a sense after my marriage broke up that God was going to use me for something. And then after a while, I started to really wonder after some of the murders if it was God or if it was the devil fooling me.
Did you feel like you were doing the right thing for these people?
No. No. I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do, but it wasn't what was right for them.
While people with BPD can often exhibit impulsive behavior and disturbed patterns of thinking, it's uncommon for patients to be affected the way Liz was. Many BPD patients may experience brief or prolonged episodes of strange experiences, such as hearing voices and feeling compelled to harm themselves or others, but it's exceedingly rare for them to act on them. It's likely her behavior was owing more to the antisocial personality disorder she was diagnosed with later on. Those affected with ASPD are often observed to have a severe disregard for the law and the feelings of others. They also often find it harder to control their anger and refuse to let other people stand in the way of their reckless behavior. Neither one of these conditions are solely responsible for Liz's
for real.
behavior. It was likely a combination of the two that planted the idea in her mind and then allowed her to go through with it with little resistance.
So Gladys,
Man.
so let's take this to November of 2011 at Crescent Care. It says here Gladys was a type 2 diabetic and had dementia. How old do you think Gladys was?
92.
92. Okay. Tell me a little bit about Gladys. What was she like when you cared for her?
Well, when I first started caring for her, she was walking and talking, and she had quite the spirit. She once punched a man because she overheard the nurses telling one of the gentlemen, "No, you can't push your wife around. You have to come with us." And she turned around and she said, "You can't treat a woman like that." Boom!
And hit the man.
And hit the man. So then we're all in a state of trying to keep them from fighting with each other and trying to keep them from hurting us.
Right.
Yeah, she was very spunky. But she went downhill fast.
Did she?
Eventually, she had dementia, didn't take her pills well, didn't eat well, very stubborn woman. And as always, one evening I just got that red surging feeling that she was going to be the one. And gave her insulin overdose.
Did you ever get that feeling outside of work?
No, never.
No. Did you ever get that feeling going to work, knowing that something was going to happen that shift?
No, it always happened at work.
So, if I were to use the phrase spur of the moment, would it be something that you just have that feeling come on? Or
Yeah, I guess you
would
could
it
say
build up?
for a moment, but it usually start happening, focused on one patient, and then I'd feel that red surging, which is what made me think it was God,
What the
which
fuck?
I'm so embarrassed.
Like I said, I'm not here to judge you. Right?
I know.
Right?
One of the most strange things about Liz is how casual she is throughout the entire confession. Not only is she happy to tell the detectives all the details she can remember about the murders themselves, but also laughs and tells stories about the victims the entire time. However, she also admits to feeling embarrassed about thinking the feeling was God, showing that she feels as though she has a strong personal image to uphold, but has a complete lack of remorse for her victims. This thought process is indicative of a sociopath, but no personality tests or analyses have ever reinforced this idea.
September or October to 07.
Yeah,
And then Helen was 2011.
yeah. Helen, I don't remember a lot about. She was very quiet, very determined, just seemed to be waiting to die.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I had that feeling that, this is the one.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a bit of a fuss about her that night because she was very lucid.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about how much she liked blueberry pie and ice cream.
Okay.
So on my break, I went to Walmart. I got a small blueberry pie and some ice cream and brought it to her, and she ate 3 or 4 bites.
Yes.
And then that night I overdosed her. Like I said, I had that feeling that it was
What the
her time
fuck
to
is
go.
wrong with this?
What do you mean by that? Do you think she was towards the end of her life at that
I
point?
know that she was the person to go to.
And that was in your mind, in your stomach?
Yeah.
Where was that feeling?
In my chest area. And after I did it, I got that laughter.
When would you feel that laughter? Would you feel it right after you injected it or once the person passed away?
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
As well as the feeling in her stomach before the murder, Liz also mentions feeling as though there's laughing coming from her chest. Given that it happens both as she's administering the dose and after she hears the victim is dead, this feeling is likely just an exaggerated feeling of gratification from knowing that her job has been completed. Psychopaths are thought to have a severe case of ASPD, and studies have shown that psychopaths also have a much stronger reaction to immediate gratification. This is what compels psychopaths to make more impulsive decisions, as they value the reward more than an unaffected person. And it's possible this just manifests in Liz as a more physical manner than usual, causing the almost euphoric laughing sensation.
Just out of curiosity, how much insulin would it take to kill someone
See, I
that
don't
wasn't
know.
diabetic? Or
I don't know.
you don't know that?
No.
You didn't know that as a nurse, that this amount? Or?
No, there is no set amount.
Okay. And I just
Yeah.
simply just don't know that
No,
answer.
there is
So
no
that's
set amount.
fine. Okay. Different people would react differently to different amounts, is that fair to say?
Yes.
And would it obviously make a difference if they were diabetic or not a diabetic?
Yeah.
You don't say a lot of negative things about Helen here. Did you get along with her okay? Did she ever do anything to harm you or?
No, she was very quiet. It was just, I got that feeling that she's next, this is time to go.
Liz had no problems with Helen, and even went out of her way to get her favorite food before killing her. This creates a strange dynamic where she obviously feels some form of remorse both before and after the murder, but still goes through with it without hesitation. But of course, the biggest show of remorse was when she decided to turn herself in the first place. Something that's understandable for a neurotypical person who's committed maybe 1 or 2 crimes, but almost completely unheard of when it comes to serial killers who have operated over the span of multiple years. She stated that she does understand the difference between right and wrong and never claimed to take pleasure from the murders, saying that she felt terrible after every single one and even tried to reach out for help on a few occasions.
I can imagine it. Does it feel like a weight off your shoulders?
Yes.
So you've been carrying a burden for quite some time.
And I've tried to get help.
Yeah, well, sometimes it takes a few attempts to finally commit to it, right?
Yeah, I had a pastor that I told me, he prayed over me and told me I'd be fine. And that was God's grace. And then
When was that?
that was Halloween 2013.
What the fuck?
And you kind of told us what had happened to you to that point in your life with
Yes,
these people.
yes.
Okay. And where was that?
That was here in town.
Liz then went on to confess to 8 murders in total, as well as attempting it on 6 more people, some within just days of each other. She'd given into the urges for 8 years in total, all the while knowing what she did was wrong, and frankly, disgusting. It took her until 2016 to finally head to a mental health and addiction institute to confess and write up the 4-page document the detective has been reading from.
4 pages? What the fuck?
we're gonna wrap things up, but here's what's gonna happen.
Okay.
Okay, and part of this is gonna be up to you. What are your plans going forward from here?
Going forward from here, I want to go home.
Okay.
I want to have a good night's sleep.
Okay.
I want to spend Thanksgiving weekend with my
You really think that's gonna happen, Shorty?
family.
Okay.
And I want to be available to the police that intend to need me. And if I have to come back for trial, I have to come back for trial.
Unfortunately, Thanksgiving with her family is far from where she was
God.
heading. Instead, she was formally charged with 8 counts of murder, 4 counts of attempted murder, and 2 counts of aggravated assault. In 2017, she waived her right to a preliminary hearing and confessed in court to all challenges. On the 26th of June 2016, Elizabeth Wetlaufer was sentenced to 8
Damn.
consecutive life sentences, ensuring the only good night's sleep she'll be getting for the rest of her life will be behind bars.
Damn, that's fucked up. But hey, yo ass, you did the crime, they gotta do the time. Man, damn, that's fucked up. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that one. If y'all do, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Catch y'all in the next one. We out.